Sunday roast. I know it's only round one and we like to get excited, but this genuinely was one of the best round one performances you've probably seen in a long time, Freddie.
Absolutely. I think without doubt, their problem is always their depth if they have some injury issues. But here's another situation. That was Leo Hopewadi coming forward, getting over the top of a fullback. But I love the way they play their own style. I think their forwards, Pasecco and Sipley, did a great job going forward. And then on top of that, Cherry Evans has his great ability. Any sort of quick play the ball, he just keeps getting up over the advantage line. And then all of a sudden, Tommy turns up. And then, look at this. Like, if these blokes weren't skinny, they wouldn't have got down that blind side. Like, it was that short, the blind side.
Cherry Evans, 36, and playing as good as ever. My mate John Clark is the conditioner there. I was talking to him, and he said his off-season, he says, is a marvel. He said he's leading everything, leading all the fitness. He is an incredible... What is he, 36 now? He'll go for another 3 or 4 years. Especially nowadays, halfbacks are very much protected. You can't hit them at all when they go to the line or when they kick. But fully fit, and Olakau'atu, what a machine.
Guys like Pasecco are going good for them. Off the bench, Ethan Bullymore. Yeah. Like, they've got a great forward pack. They're hard workers. They're strong. I've got no doubt they're in the top 8. I think I might have picked them to finish 4th or 5th this year. They'll be up there for sure. They're a good enough side. On their day, they can beat most sides. You know, they'll be there at the back end of the year.
Mate, the other one too, Gal, was Jazz Tavanga.
Oh, yeah, he's come over, yeah. He went good.
So he started. He sort of gets into that tough period of the game. Then he moved to lock a little bit. Jake Simpkins come on, who's got a real art at hooker. He's been a hooker his whole life. I thought that worked really well. He made a tackle late in the game, Tavanga, and he dropped his shoulder. But he stayed on, so hopefully he plays this week and it's not too bad.
Their pack is balanced. And I look at the Broncos too, it's balanced. They got the superstars and the big men. But then they got Hetherington and they got Corey Jensen, the workers around them. You got to have that balance.
And a pretty settled squad as well. I mean, they've barely been any changes from last year.
They've been together for a few years. Yeah, they haven't changed much, and they've only added quality to the roster. So, yeah, they'll be there at the back end of the year, I've got no doubt. And I think they played 5 of their first 7 games at Brookvale, which we know what a fortune it was last year. It's going to be even more this year.
How good was it? The scenes at Brookvale are packed. There's nothing better than suburban footy, but you had 17,000+ fans watching these scenes. It's what rugby league's all about.
Where do you rank Olakau'atu at the moment, as in back rowers?
Oh, he's right up there. Look, I had him in the Origin side last year. I think he played Origin last year, obviously. He's an unbelievable player. He's so big, so strong, so talented. He's got ball skills. I think his potential a little bit untapped too. I think he can play more probably ball playing on the edges there, but he's just so big and strong. Tommy Dearden, he's one of the best defenders as a halfback in the competition. He just ran at him all day. It would have given him a headache by the end of the game. So I felt sorry. Tommy, by the end of the game, I felt sorry for him. There was a run about 10 minutes to go. It just bumped him straight off, hit his head on the ground. I actually thought he might have had to come off for a HIA assessment, but he ran straight over the top of him multiple times. He is an absolute weapon, Olakau'atu.
You know what he does? He stretches his gait when he gets to the defence. So, like, if you actually don't hit him around the waist, which is really hard to do, you can't get both his legs because he actually stretches them at time of impact. He does it all the time.
What about the Cows?
I was worried about the Cows from the start of the year. Look, they had a good year, 2 or 3 years ago, and I think they just expected that to happen. Look, they've got a quality roster. They've got some good players there, but yeah,
Do you think they've got a quality roster?
Well, I think they've got some good players. Like guys like Nanai is some of the best back rowers in the competition.
They lost 2 blokes in the pre-season.
Helen Lukey's a big loss.
That's a massive loss.
They did lose a couple. But look, I don't see them making the top 8. I can't see them in the top 8, and I think there's probably a little bit of pressure on Todd Payton this year to do something.
It goes in weird and wonderful places.
Wow, we're looking forward to it.
If you're easily offended, get ready.
Wednesday night.
There's a good chance you'll see Andrew's feet, so it's one of the more disgusting things you could ever witness.
Freddie, Joey and Danica on a Wednesday night. Now, Gal, you were at Cogra for that match with the Doggies getting the job done, 28-20 over the Dragons. It was fair to say a brutal encounter, wasn't it?
There was some great hits. I'll tell you what, kick out was a little bit hot and cold yesterday. He had some really good moments like that pass we just saw and some poor moments. I didn't think this was a try. I felt real sorry for Stephen Crichton there. I hope he doesn't get charged for that. To me, that's just a body check. He's not leading with his knees. He shouldn't be charged for it.
Just got a fine.
Oh, thankfully. A bit of common sense there. But I thought overall it was a pretty scrappy game. Both teams only completed it by the end of the game at around 70%. It wasn't great, but I thought the Dragons blew it, to be honest. One thing we spoke to Dean Young about during the day on radio, and I know Shane Flanagan is big on, is protecting the middle in defence. Now, the two Tupanua tries were pretty ordinary and went straight through their middle, so he won't be happy with that. One of the Dragons' wingers had 4 errors, just dropping balls. I think that was Feagai. That was a good try. So, but the Dragons didn't look like scoring, to be honest. In the back end of the game, they come to life and scored a couple of late tries to make it really interesting by the back end of the game. It was exciting. The atmosphere out there was awesome. There was 16,000 people there. It was a really good atmosphere. The crowd was really good, really well behaved. It was a great environment to watch footy in front of. But I thought overall the game probably didn't live up to the expectation. This was the game of the round. I couldn't pick the winner. I actually ended up going the Dragons, so disappointed there. But this was the hardest game for me to pick. I thought the game would be a little bit better than what it was. But it wasn't. I thought both sides were pretty scrappy. But the Bulldogs' defence on the back of their coach, I thought was pretty good for the majority of the game. And you can tell he's a defensive-minded coach, Cameron Serrato. So I think he will be a little bit disappointed in those last couple of tries that the Dragons did score.
They've taken that thing out of Penrith. All they try to do coming out of trouble is to get to compete for the ball. You talk about Max Fenoi or Matt Fenoi, the winger for St George. Burton just kept putting kicks up. The ones he caught, he was getting belted by kick-out. Then all of a sudden they'd get far enough down where he'd kick them high enough and then they'd compete. They ended up getting 4 or 5 errors out of him. And that ended up being the difference, I reckon. Like for 30 minutes, the game was 6-4 and it looked tight as. No one looked like they were going to break out of the mould. And all of a sudden there was a few errors from St George. They went try off a scrum, try off a penalty, and then the game just opened up and it was all towards the Dogs. And 2 tries to Tupanua. The first one I thought was a forward pass. And then after that, on the way back, the Dragons were back and all of a sudden Val missed an important goal.
Yeah,
to go within 6.
6 points, that was a big miss.
And that was a couple of minutes to go. And then they dropped 3 balls.
Hey, Freddie, as a half of 5'8", you'd love to play with Satili Tupanua because he hits the hole and he knows where space is. And he runs hard. You know who he reminds me of? Steve Simpson, the big one.
He is.
Titanium bones.
Mate, he's fast. Over that 10 metres, he's quick.
Look at, he finds space. Yeah. Look, he knows where space is.
That was forward. Because you had to pass the ball forward for him to get through the hole. This one was a beauty.
Find space.
Look, I know what Flano's like about protecting inside shoulders. You were disappointed in Ilias' attempt there, and obviously the back rows there. You can't let them go through. I know that's what Flano's like. But speaking about competing, that's one thing that the Dogs did. They competed on everything. Yeah. And that's what I think Cameron Serrato wants to coach. And that's what the Penrith have done for years. Just compete on every single play. That was the difference. When the Dragons kicked downfield, there was no pressure on their back 5 at all. They just caught their ball, ran it back. Whenever the Dog kicked it down, I'll tell you, it was awesome, Montoya. Yeah. Montoya was chasing hard, competing on every play. Mate, he actually even put a shot on at one stage. He folded one of the wingers in half and left him on the ground. So he had a good game, Montoya.
There was a lot of hype in the pre-season around the Dragons with their new recruits, Damien Cook, Clint Gutherson, Lachlan Ilias. What did you make of those big names yesterday, Freddie?
I think the game didn't help. Like Gal said, it was pretty sloppy, a pretty intense atmosphere for the first game of the year. And, they weren't, they're not the Broncos and they're not Manly. They haven't been teams that have been together for a long time. You can see Burton really helped the Dogs with his kicking game and it calmed them down. So I don't think the Dragons ever looked really in sync. They look dangerous and they've got some weapons everywhere. But I think they're also a little bit inconsistent with, they make some errors in poor times, give some bad penalties away. So I think the Dragons have got some work to do.
I noticed when they play their block play, I watch them closely in the Charity Shield, when they're playing their block plays, they play really early. And Gutho just catches and just feeds it on. So a lot of other clubs go right to the line, which enables the outside backs to come outside in and stop the play. I was really impressed with their timing and how quickly they play to give time to their outside backs, which is... Does Flano normally coach like that? Or
he likes to give. He definitely, if you're playing in the middle of the field, definitely give time to the edges. That's right. Yeah. I thought overall the new recruits were pretty good. I think they'll get better. The Dragons, their first game together. Time spent playing together is, I think, really important in this competition. So they'll get better. I think you'll want more from Ilias. Unfortunately, I was a forward, obviously.
He made a couple of errors.
He made a couple, and I think a couple of the big ones were down in the attacking zone. They never had a lot of ball in the attacking zone, particularly in the second half. I think they had 3 or 4 tackles inside the opposition 40-metre zone. So they struggled there, but I think one he kicked dead, a couple of bad passes. So look, he's got to get better. Bad drop, yeah. They protect his inside shoulder. And look, he'll improve. He'll get better. And as I said, unfortunately, there's just so much pressure on those key positions. Nah, I couldn't do that.
As if you didn't.
No, I honestly don't think I did. I don't think I sprayed it. I was always too tired. So I don't think I did.
Well, Lachie Ilias did miss most of last year.
Yeah,
with a
look,
broken
I'm not trying to sit here and bag him. I think he did his best. But I think overall they'll improve as a side. Look, their forwards have got to get better too. They've got to lay a bit more of a platform for them. I thought the Dogs' defence, which as I said earlier is probably the backbone of Cameron Serrato's coaching, I thought was pretty good. Other than those last 2 tries, I thought was pretty good.
Not the result they wanted, 10-8. They went down to your Knights, Joey. But did you see enough from the Tigers with their new recruits, Terrell May, Jerome Luai, Jack Bird, Royce Hunt, to suggest that they're not going to get the wooden spoon?
No, they won't get the spoon. I don't think they'll be in the bottom 4. They need a lot of improvement. Don't worry about the scoreline. This was a really entertaining game. It was scrappy. Dylan Lucas has elevated himself to a real top-line back row. Jeez, he's good. And the young bloke at dummy half, Fletcher Sharp, playing at 5'8", his instincts and his support play, he's a good player. Really good player.
You've got to remember the Tigers are without Appy Coruscant and Jordan Bullock. So everyone talks about the importance of those 4 middle players, and they're losing 2 top shelfers, especially the hooker who touches the ball more than anyone.
I was nearly crying then. Pass it, Bradman. And then Greg Marshew gives himself up, tiptoes the sideline. That's the winning try. Very scrappy from the Knights. They'll be improved from that win. They got the Dolphins Thursday night. Actually, you'll see it live and free with Channel 9. It'll be a great game. It'll be a sellout up there. They have 28,000, and I think they'll be a lot better.
Kalen was good.
Once again, Kalen. He's an unbelievable player. He played so tough. He brought the ball out of the in-goal twice, and on the back of one of the efforts, they end up scoring down the other end. I would hate to think if he wasn't there. He is just an absolute I think he's once in a lifetime sort of player.
Is this stuff you just can't coach?
You can't coach it.
You've got it or you don't.
Genetically, this is it. Look at this in the in-goal. Slippery surface, 1, 2, dummy, 3, 4. And on the back of that, they went down and scored.
Where do you see the Knights this year? Do you think they can push for that top 8?
Yeah, I think so. Once again, relies on him.
On Ponga, yeah.
He's got to be there.
Yeah.
But no, I think so. They can be in the top 8. Whether they can win it, everything would have to be going their way. But no, I think they're a huge chance for the top 8.
What about their halves?
Well, that's the
Chopped
thing.
and changed. They had about, 7 or 8 different combinations last year. Adam O'Brien, in his post-match press conference, said they'll be my halves next week.
Yep.
But didn't guarantee anything beyond that. But do you just need to pick and stick and give them reps? And
I think just stick with Cogger and also Fletcher Sharp. I was really surprised when they played Fletcher Sharp at 5'8". I understand coming through, he was in the halves. Great instincts. Cogger was okay the other day, but keep these 2 halves. Let them just keep playing together. I think they complement each other well. And we saw what Jack Cogger did in the grand final the other year when he came on with 20 minutes to go. It's there, and just leave him there and let him build confidence and combination.
Fletcher Sharp come through as was he playing reserve?
Wing,
He
fullback,
played
more of a fullback.
But coming through at Cessnock and playing juniors, he was in the halves.
Yeah, so he knows how to play at halfback. He's obviously, even if he's a fullback, he's got that ball skill and ball playing ability.
He's support play.
He's a footy player.
He's a footy
He's
player.
a runner. You just need Cogger to do his job. He's got to be maybe a little bit more threatening. Same out as dummy half. Phoenix Crossland, you've got to remember, still only just started playing hooker, really. Like, he sort of was the bench hooker for a couple of years, played a lot more number 9 last year.
Coming through.
Played a halfback coming through. I reckon he's a really good player, Phoenix Crossland. I like the fact they're all juniors. And I reckon they can get a little combination. If they can just keep stealing games like that. They stole that. I thought Tigers were the better team.
You've got to win the close games.
And then they've got the Dolphins next week. If they can steal a couple of them and just bring this combination together, it's capable. Like, Kalen's as good as anyone. If you can hold the ball and get in enough field position, just get the ball to him and he'll win your game. So they're on their way.
what about for the Tigers? Someone like Terrell May. He was close to, if not their best player
You talk
on
about
the
him.
field, yeah.
Oh, he's a big, strong forward. Exactly
Origin,
what they
do you
need.
think he can play Origin?
He wouldn't be far off. Yeah, I think coming off the bench, like he obviously probably getting his ability to play big minutes up. He probably needs. He's coming from the Roosters. He's probably more of a bench player, but he's a great player. Exactly what they needed after they lost the big fella to the Melbourne Storm. They also lost Papali'i as well, so they did lose some. So the players they've got. They've really just replaced the players that they've lost. So, other than Jerome Luai, I think he's big and obviously Taruva, but I think in the middle, losing those couple of middle players, I think it's going to hurt them. I don't think they can push towards the top 8 this year. I think it's a bit of a rebuilding phase for them, and I hope they stay away from the spoon. That's my hope for them. 3 wooden spoons in a row must be very, very tough for the club, so I'm hoping they can stay away from that.
One thing they all talk about is how much they're enjoying it.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the biggest thing.
He's doing a great job, Ben.
They're just coming off 3 wooden spoons.
Yeah.
So, like, not many people are going to like it. So I think with Jerome coming and a few of those other names, all they talk about is they're training hard. They competed for longer in this game. Though without some of their superstars, like missing Appy. Like, Appy's your superstar. He's touching the ball more than anyone. Then the fullback as well. So I think, you know, there's blue skies ahead.
Jerome said before this match he was just as nervous as what he was for his NRL debut because there was so much hype.
Great sign. Shows he cares. And once again, they're going to get better as the year on. All new combinations. I thought him and Galvin were really good together. Skelton, the winger, geez, I like him as a winger. But, yeah, I think they won't come last. They won't get the spoon.
I think, like him, Jerome Lloyd, just going to the club and teaching, even teaching Benji how the Panthers train, how hard they train, how physically they train. I think it's going to be good for the whole club. So I think, as well as his playing ability, I think his leadership at that club is going to be invaluable to them.
Jamie Humphreys, how good was he?
I remember watching bits and pieces when he was at Manly, and then I watched him close in the Charity Shield. I thought, wow, this bloke's got something. And I thought the other night his kicking game was absolutely sensational. He kicked for over nearly 600 metres. But he's got a running game. You can see the body on him. His goal kicking's really good. Defensively, very strong. I think he stays there. It's Lewis Dodd's job to get past him.
Well, Lewis Dodd's come from the Super League. There hasn't been a lot of English backs. I mean, the forwards come out there tough and relentless, but there hasn't been a lot of backs come out here and really dominate. But I couldn't believe how big he was.
He's massive.
When I first saw him, I thought he was a back row. He was an absolute little tank. I said before he must weigh 95 kilos. He's 98 apparently, 98 so he's a big body, so that's going to help him defensively. But I thought he was great. His kicking game was really good. I thought probably his last 2 kicks of the game when the game was on the line, he probably found the winger rather than just putting it in the air. But overall, he was a good player, and it's going to be his spot for the moment. Have a go at the rig on him.
Beast.
Oh.
Well, Cody did well. At the back end of the game, Cody took over and he started kicking down to that corner. But I think what he did do, he spoke about after the game how Cody was a bit of a hero of his as he was growing up and watching halves play. And like he had to step into Cody's space plenty of times to kick. And then I just like the way that he allowed Cody at the end of the game to take control. You saw him tackle earlier. The other part about Cody's game, I thought, was his defence. His defence was excellent. He came up and jammed in on Hammer a couple of times when they were sweeping around. He got up and made the right move. Was very aggressive in defence. So I think both of them together, although there was enough there to give them a good platform. I think they completed 85%.
Well, that's the thing about it. That had a lot of players out there playing some of their bigger names, but I thought it was a real Wayne Bennett coach performance. Like, they don't beat themselves. Wayne Bennett's teams don't beat themselves. And when you complete it at 85%, it doesn't guarantee you a win, but it gives yourself every chance of winning the match. And that's what they did. Great completion rate, played simple footy, and at the end of the day, got the victory. So they started the year exactly the way they needed to, particularly with some of the players that got out.
The two Jais, the fullback was awesome, very busy. And then Jai Arrow come up with a couple of crucial plays at the end of the game. He chased back and made a tackle. And then he also scrapped a ball and then ripped it out when just after South made an error. So I've got to say the two Jais, one in attack, Jai Gray, he was just everywhere. And then Jai Arrow come up with some really big plays and just showed his sort of, you know, where he should be, his leadership in the game for the team,
And he's also coming back from shoulder surgery at the back end of last year as well. So he hadn't played in a while, hadn't gelled with his teammates in a while. Also expecting his first child very soon as well. So big congratulations to Jai Arrow.
Get your sleep. Plays big minutes, as fit as they come. Yeah, he was outstanding. I got to say, I was disappointed in the Dolphins. Really disappointed. Look, it was a slippery night, and as you said, South completed 85%. There was a lot of ball in play. But I thought they played way too conservative. Did not use the ball enough. You've got to take risks.
12 minutes in one stage of ball in play.
Isaiah Katoa, I've wrapped him for a couple of years and I love him as a half, but he has to start running the ball. I actually went down the sheds and had a chat to him. I just think there's got to be more of a run threat. He's thinking pass too much. But I suppose he's a byproduct of junior coaches now where they don't let him get out there and play. You learn your lessons making errors on the field. I thought that they played way too conservative. Way too conservative.
Look, there's a lot of issues out there in Queensland at the moment, as we know, but I think the fact they lost 3 of their leaders before the game didn't help them either. But you know, I actually changed. I tipped the Dolphins and changed my tip to South Sydney because they had three of their better players out, which I think was pretty big.
Well, you got strike. You got Herbie Farnworth, Finny Fukiaki. I hope I said that right. I apologise. They're not getting the ball.
The hammer.
I didn't see Herbie Farnworth get the ball in space, and that's your job of your halves. to get the ball to your strike players at the right time, the right situations.
What about Campbell Graham? Hadn't played in 553 days, so he had surgery on his sternum last year, and at one stage too, he got shifted out to the wing, and at the back end, he put on some massive hits. So it was, I think all rugby league fans can agree, it was just so good to see him back on the field, and he had a blinder.
He saved to try at the end, and just use his big long levers, dragging blokes towards sidelines, putting them in bad positions. This run here particularly, was 2 runs where Souths are getting put under pressure, and they're a pretty young side, Souths, and no one was putting up their hand. But he made 2 runs just on his own, bang, give me the ball. So both attack and defence, but he was really valuable for him.
What's going on behind?
They're going to need it.
What's going on behind those eyes? He's got that
suicide.
I'll tell you what, he's a big,
sinister
have you
look
seen him
about
in real life? He's a big man. He'd be 6'4", pushing 6'5". He's a big dude. He's hard to handle, yeah.
How good was Ben Hunt and Adam Reynolds together? Potentially, later on in the year, they could become the oldest halves pairing we have seen in the history of the NRL.
It's good to see Ben Hunt go out there. He just looked like he had no stress. Adam Reynolds just is such a game organiser. He just knows where to be, where to have the ball, where to put the pressure on, and Ben Hunt just popped up when he had to. He kicked when he had to. He found Teddy out a couple of times out of position and just come up with some brilliant plays when needed. I thought, you know, if they stay fit and healthy, and that's going to be the issue, obviously, given their age. But, you know, together, they've got Ezra Mam to come back. You wonder where he plays, if he plays. So, what a great start.
Are you keeping those two together? I mean, it's one game, Joey,
Yeah.
but from what you saw,
$1,000,000%.
Ezra's going to have a tough time getting back into this.
Well, Ezra will have to earn his position. I think eventually, towards the end of the year, Ben Hunt will probably go back to 14, where we've seen him in Origin. But Adam Reynolds, it's the best I've seen him play. It's the best I've seen him move. You can see he's had a really good off-season. He's had groin problems and all sorts of leg injuries. But when you're moving in the off-season, it just helps your body so much. I saw him take the line on a lot the other night. He was outstanding. I love the way they shared the ball around the halves. And they're both 8 out of 10, even 9 out of 10. Reynolds just... His kicking game is as good as it gets.
I'll tell you what's pretty good for him as well, Corey Pakes.
He's a good player.
He was like he's 25 years of age. He's not a kid just getting his career started. He's been around for a little while. The story is Ezra Mam will come back and Hunt will go to hooker, but I think Corey Pakes will be giving it up that easy. I thought if he can play like that week in, week out, he's going to be hard to leave out of the side.
Gal, what about... Sorry.
It was awesome. His trial form was awesome.
That play there.
And then he come through, and you know what he did? He had that little bit of deception out of dummy half. I think Broncos have had that for a while, where Billy Walters only come up with a couple of nice tries, but he could go both ways. He had the markers fooled most of the night.
Mate, the Roosters kick chase, Freddie, putting pressure on kickers. They were coming from the outside. Your pressure kickers from the inside.
It's always the inside, yeah. That's why they played on a couple of times and played on tackle 5, and they scored some good tries at the back end of the game, the Broncos, some really, you know, entertaining tries, which I suppose when you're winning by 50 points, you can throw the ball around a little bit and have a go. But, yeah, they scored some good tries. Look, I know we're talking about halves then, but I thought Payne Haas and Pat Carrigan were the 2 best players on the field. Pat Carrigan was awesome. I know Freddie spoke about Haas in the game.
Throwing Pakes.
But, yeah, Pat Carrigan for me. I thought he's probably the best back row in the competition a couple of years ago when they made the grand final. He probably let himself down a bit last year, but if he keeps forming like that, Pat Carrigan, he'll be right up there again. He's an outstanding player.
The Chooks, Freddie. The Chooks.
That's it. Are you worried about them?
Yeah, I'm worried about it. I don't think they can compete for the competition this year. I think they're well short. 3 blokes on debut. Part of that team also, they had 2 blokes make their debut last year. Marky Mark, he was one of them. Also, Blake Steep was the other. And then the year before, they had 2 of their players make debut. So he pretty much had 7 players who'd barely played. So, you know, I think Robbo said after the game he was pleased with some of the, you know, that was a pleasing part of the performance. I don't know how you could take any positive out of that game, other than the fact although Toya showed some really great signs as a strike centre, a young kid who's had a couple of knee recos. He was most probably the best thing for the Roosters on the night. Brilliant play here, the footwork firstly, and then to come up with the pass, you got Reece Walsh looming in on you and come up with that beautiful pass at speed, hit Young out in front. Was a sign that this bloke can play and he'll be there for a while. But outside that, they were highly disappointing. They just couldn't keep up with the Broncos. Phil White, Siwa Wong, blokes who have been in the system for a few years, just getting caught a mark again, caught on the ground. You know, they just weren't up to it, I didn't think.
We just saw that graphic on the players they'd lost, but then keep in mind too, Sam Walker and Brandon Smith are still coming back from ACL injuries. Spencer Leniu was suspended, so he wasn't there for that.
And Victor this week won't be there.
And Victor, with the HIA. Joey, I think during the week in your column you'd said it was maybe not a rebuild year, but a transitional year for them.
Yeah, transitioning to a lot of young players, and they've backed these young players. They haven't gone to market, so they're obviously backing these young players to come through, especially in the forwards. But it's going to be a very challenging year for the Roosters. I can't see them making the 8. So, they've only got a team called Penrith this week, Friday night. We'll see it here live and free. Yeah, with no Victor also. He got that head knock, which is a bit of a worry for Victor. He's had plenty of concussions.
I actually saw him post-game, walked in the car, and he seemed okay. He said he was all right, so that's a positive. Yeah, he seemed okay. So look, he obviously followed the protocols, and his safety's the first thing that we're all thinking about. But from all reports, he's okay. So hopefully he only misses 1 week and he'll be back.
The good thing is, you've got an experienced coach. He's not going to lose his nerve. They play the Broncos, they get flogged. They've got Penrith next week, which is going to be tough. So the thing is, he's not going to lose his nerve. So, what he's done over the past 12 years or 13 years is going to give him a little bit of room to actually bring some players through and hopefully over the next month or so form some combinations so they actually compete for 80 minutes. That's the one thing they couldn't do. They just couldn't concentrate.
Do you think they make the 8?
Well, not at the moment they can't, I don't think.
They make the 8?
No, they don't make the 8, no. I can't see it.
Yeah, get a few players back later. Remember they play Brisbane and they've got Penrith next week. So like I said, we just got to hold our nerve for a month or so to see if they've still got some great players there.
It's only round 1.
Only round 1.